Boy, take a look at that statue in Butler, Pennsylvania. If you're just listening only, it's a life-size statue of some 400 pounds of Donald Trump, a depiction of the moments after the assassination attempt. Some 4,000 nails welded together by an artist. We'll talk to him in just a little bit. Hey everybody, Tim Boehm here, political anchor for Spectrum News. Normally coming at you weekly with the Tying It Together with Tim Boehm podcast, talking about the stories behind the people and the stories of politics. But we are on this road trip from Porch Politics across America, talking to everyday Americans. After a chaotic summer, Joe Biden leaving the race, that attempted assassination against former President Donald Trump, and of course, Kamala Harris getting in the race as well. We're also making this trek across America from New York City to Los Angeles in an electric car, a Tesla. In fact, if you're watching this on video, I'm trying to get this in here before we start doing some live coverage for the vice presidential debate. So we are inside the Tesla, which was rented to us to record this. So enjoy. We're kind of crammed in here. It's a smaller car, not meant for TV production, perhaps not podcasts either. We had a crazy day today. We got up in Pittsburgh and drove about a half hour north to Butler. And then we drove to Lordstown, Ohio, about another hour. And then we drove up to Lansing, Michigan. We put on, all in total, about 410 miles, and we hit 3 states. If you're interested in the charging factor, so we started this morning in Pittsburgh. It was a dreary morning. I forgot my razor at home, so I had to go get a razor at the drugstore. But anyways, we were at 73%, so we decided to top off before we left. It took about 28 minutes to get to 98%. It was a little under $7. We also stopped in Girard, Ohio. After 112 miles of driving, it was at 40% then. It took 37 minutes to go, $14.62. Then we stopped in Toledo, Ohio, 169 miles later. That took 44 minutes at $18.04. We were at 26% then. And then we went 122 miles to get us here to Lansing. And we're actually charging right now. We were at 36% when we got here. It's taking about 35 minutes and about $16 to get to that 100%. You're noticing that we're topping off. We're not just going down to 10 or 5%. What we're doing is when you get in the car, you can put in your location you're going. It'll tell you, like, look, you need to stop and supercharge here at 26%. There's a lot of superchargers here. So that's what we're doing. It's taking a little less time to charge. We're going to stop a little more, but it feels more efficient, so we're trying that out. That's why it's kind of hard to decipher exactly how many miles you can go on a charge, because sometimes it's easier, particularly when you start going out to rural areas, to do that. So let's talk about what we did today. We went to Butler, Pennsylvania. I wanted to go there because obviously of the assassination attempt that took place in the small rural western Pennsylvania area. But there was an artist that I found online that I was fascinated in. His name is Bill Secunda. He was really not involved in politics, didn't really care for the longest time. And so Donald Trump comes along and he became interested. Now, Secunda's been an artist his whole life. Butler is a very rural area, and it is red. It's Republican by far. There were Donald Trump signs everywhere across the Butler area when we went there. But, I was really curious because Western Pennsylvania is blue-collar, hard-working folks, rural America. How do they connect to a guy that's lived in his own skyscraper, essentially, and is rich, New York City guy in Donald Trump? So I asked him that. Here's what he said.
That's the strangest thing, because he's not anything like what we are here, but I don't think we really care, what you are or who you are or where you're from. As long as you're a good person you can have a beer with or, have a chat with. I mean, I think that's pretty much what you get in rural.
All right, so he's a sculptor by nature. Now, he had this Tin Man that was, it had to have been 20 feet tall that he built, and the Tin Man was holding a heart. It's incredible. Check out our social media pages to see that. So he decided, he had the sculpture made in 2020. He made it out of some 4,000 nails welded together. He specializes in those kind of sculptures. And it was actually originally Donald Trump holding a shirt open with an S, like Superman, that he had on there. And after the shooting happened this summer, he was inspired to change it. And it's really a depiction of the image of Donald Trump holding up his fist after he got up off the ground at the podium after the assassination attempt. And it was just, it's pretty incredible. It's some 400 pounds, just a fascinating sculpture. And here's what inspired him to kind of do it.
You know, I built a lot of nail sculptures, and that's how this got started, because somebody said, oh, he's tough as nails. And I thought, oh yeah, that could be fun, you know. So,
right there.
yeah, so I thought, well, you know, I'll build them out of nails.
Now, one more thing on Bill I have to tell you about. These people in Western Pennsylvania, my wife grew up here, so I know this area. His wife, what a wonderful woman. She showed up with 2 cups of coffee and a plate of donuts. I mean, I already had coffee and a Diet Pepsi. In fact, I'm living on caffeine to get through this long road trip, drinking Diet Pepsi right now. But I had a little bit of coffee and whatnot because I just felt so bad. What a sweet woman. They were the nicest couple. So after that, we drove to Lordstown, Ohio. That was about an hour away. And this is a town that had a GM plant for some 50 plus years. They made all kinds of cars there. And then in 2019, after years of sort of short declines, they had some 10,000 people that worked here in the past. In 2019, the plant shut down. Now, some of you might remember hearing about this town because Donald Trump in 2017, when he was president, said, don't sell your homes. The plant is going to stay, essentially. Well, the plant left. There's an EV battery plant in town, and Foxconn owns the old GM property, and they're manufacturing an electric tractor, but it's, I mean, not even remotely close to what that factory used to be. So this town is trying to reinvent itself. And I met with the mayor today, and we talked a little bit about that.
I mean, you know, part of me wishes that General Motors would bring something back in and manufacture a vehicle of some sort. But, you know, another part of me thinks that, hey, there's diversity in this, and bringing in a different company and giving somebody else a chance to make something of it.
So I also wanted to know, not only did Donald Trump say that back in 2017 about don't sell your homes, and a lot of people obviously had to end up selling their homes, but Sherrod Brown has a Senate ad out that it talks about Lordstown. There's a union ad endorsing Kamala Harris that talks about Lordstown. So I wondered what the people of this town have been through so much. I mean, many, many people had to move away. Many, many, many people lost their jobs. It was like a funeral, the mayor said, when that plant shut down. So what does she want to hear from politicians? What does this community need to hear from these politicians that are using its name in their political advertisements? Here's what she said.
I would say a pledge of support would be nice. An actual fulfilling of that support would be even better. People want to see the candidates pull through on their promises, because promises are nothing until they're actually put into action. So having something actually put out there and something done would be nice to see.
All right, if you're watching this, it's starting to get dark. The car is almost charged. We got to get to the state capitol here in Lansing, Michigan, to do some hits. So on Wednesday, we are headed to Wisconsin. That is after we meet with some independent voters here in Michigan. You don't have to register with a party here, so it's interesting to talk to some independent voters. There's a group of them, they're a big group in fact, that they're just sick and tired of the system. So I'm curious about what they think about the election, what's going to drive their vote come November. Then we're driving to Madison. We're going to meet with a great dairy farmer there. Love me some cheese curds, even though I'm a Minnesota native and Vikings fan. I'm not a cheesehead, but I do love me some cheese. So we're going to meet a great farmer there. And the World Dairy Expo just happens to be taking place on Thursday. We're also going to meet there with some farmers and talk to some experts about how they feel a little left behind, frankly, in the talk about America in the future. Farmers are struggling all across the country. They got a lot of problems despite feeding America. So that's going to be on Wednesday and Thursday. And then we continue our trek all the way to Los Angeles by October 9th when we fly back. Make sure to follow the digital channels, the media channels for Spectrum News. My personal one's Tim Boym as well. If you Google it, I promise you'll find it. All the content is keeping up there. Make sure to download the Spectrum News app. That's probably the easiest way to get it. We will see you ahead on the road. This is Tying It Together with Tim Boym, a Spectrum News One production, produced and hosted by me with a huge assist from our digital team. Holler at me with your questions, comments, concerns. Maybe you got a question about driving a Tesla. Let me know, all right? In the meantime, be well, be kind if you can. Buy local. We'll talk to you perhaps tomorrow.